Good morning, and welcome to CabWriter Comprehensive Part 6. In Part 5, when we left off, we had a few cabinets to draw. And that's these cabinets here. So we'll draw those right off the bat this morning. And then we're going to go into, I don't know what you want to call it, fix-up mode or customization mode or something. And there's a number of things we have to do. For instance, we have to put doors on this cabinet. And we're going to want to put some mid rails in here because it's such a tall cabinet. And without the mid rails, it looks a little funny. We need doors on this cabinet. And then we need to fix up places where we've shared connectors and things like that. And I believe one of them is here. Up here for sure is one. And there are a few other places. There's going to be one here and a few other places. And we'll have to fix those up. This end panel we have to fix up. And a few other places. We have to add some back panels to this cabinet. And put trim around. So we have a lot of work to do, and it may not get completed in this part. We may have to have another part, maybe even another 2 parts. But let's get going and see how far we get. Okay, now when I started recording this video this morning, it turned out that I've got mistakes here. These dots are in the wrong place. This one's the only one that's correct. So I'm going to fix that up. I'm going to see if I can get rid of those and this. And I'm going to put a temporary construction line here. And another one here. And that'll give me this point right here. And now I want a point from here to here. Okay, now I'm ready to go. And I'm going to delete this line and this line. So that's the correct points now. I'm going to start out in this corner. And I'm going to make that a left pivot connector. And this one will be a right end connector. This one's going to be a diagonal corner. And I typically make those 14 inches from here to here. I'll make that 14, and then I'll drop back on this side of it to create the connector. And that will give me, by the way, I'll just measure this so you'll know what we're doing here. That'll give me, I believe, 15 and a 16th inch. Well, I'm sorry, 12 and a 16th inch on the inside. 15 and a 16th inch on the outside. So don't forget in your own, when you're doing this offline, to fix those up the way I did. All right, here we go. The left one is going to be a diagonal corner upper, one door. And this one is going to be a standard upper, one door. And let's get this one over here. They're both going to be end panels, so this will be a left end panel. And this will be a right end panel. and it's a standard upper. One door. Whoops. Standard upper, one door. And look at this. This was the wrong style here, so let's correct that. I'll select that part and say CabWriter, edit story stick. When you want to fix up styles or move styles, it's the story stick. And I'm going to leave this style the same. I'm going to leave the connector one in the middle the same. This is the one I'm going to change to a right end panel. There we go. Okay, here's another situation where I'm going to share this connector right here with another connector. So I'll make this a right end connector. And this one will also be this will be a left end panel. And just for a little difference here, we're going to make this a standard upper, but this time with 2 doors. Now, we've not talked at all about the rest of this. This, by the way, every time you're choosing a box, this is called the box selector. We haven't talked much about the other options in the box selector. We did for the divided base. We talked about this. But there's some other things you can change in this box selector. For cabinets that have draws, although the only upper one that allows a draw is the divided upper, but for those that allow draws, you can change the number of draws here. You can change the number of shelves here, and if you don't do anything, it'll use the default number in the CabWriter settings defaults. And you can change the number of shelf holes. The standard right now is 2, but if you wanted 3, you could change that here. You could also change the gap between the wall and box. It's expecting to see a blank here, but if you put a dimension in here, it'll change the gap between the wall and the box. You can also change the sheet goods used to make the box and the trim and banding used on the fronts of the shelves. Now, we've disabled that feature in our CabWriter settings, but we can enable it, and what will happen is it'll put a little banding on the front edge of the shelf. So there are other things you can change in this box selector on a per box basis. So keep that in mind. All right, that's that cabinet. Now there's one other thing that I noticed over here. This door is very narrow, and this is probably I don't know, in my eyes that looks a little too narrow. So I'm going to change this to a slab door, and I do that by editing the cabinet. But first, what I want to edit, I'm going to edit doors, and I'm going to say instead of frame and panel, upper door here. Here we go. I want to stick with uppers here for the moment. I'm going to change from frame and panel to slab. Update that and close it. And I'm going to redraw. Actually, what I'm going to do is just redraw this cabinet. Redraw the selected cabinet. No, I don't want to use the stored defaults because that's the one that says use a frame and panel door. I want to use the ones I just changed, so I say no. And there you go. Now I have a slab door there. I don't know whether that looks better or worse, but anyway, you've got the option and that's how you do it. Now I want to before I do anything else, I probably want to go back and refresh or reload my factory settings because I just changed them, and probably want to save my file. All right, now we're ready to go fix some things up. Let's start with this cabinet over here. I'm going to put some doors on the front of it. And I'll just select that and say add a door. And it wants to know how many I want to add. I want 2. And there we go. Now we have our doors. Now before I do much more, that cabinet's in the wrong place. Recall, I've got this wasted, really good sheet of plywood here. I don't need it. And I'm going to end up sharing these styles. So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to get rid of this part right here. So I'll unlock it and simply delete it. I'm also going to unlock this and delete it. Now what I want to do is I want to back this whole cabinet up. And I want to back it up so that this edge is lined up with this edge. And so let's measure that. 1 1/4. So I want to back the whole cabinet up 1 1/4. The way you do that is you choose any part, right click, and say CabWriter Edit Story Stick. And this time what we're going to do to the story stick or to the styles is we're going to move them back 1 1/4. Now, since I can't move just one style back and not the others, this isn't going to even ask me about the other styles. It's automatically going to assume that if I move something forward or back, that it'll move all the styles and the cabinet the same dimension. So all I have to do is hit OK. And there you go. The whole cabinet's been moved back. Now, because I drew these doors before I moved the cabinet back, they didn't move along with the cabinet. Also, you'll notice that the sides didn't move. The question is why? Well, here's something you need to know about drawing these doors and draws using the add or insert a draw tool and the insert a door tool. If I take away the doors here, base doors, notice that when the doors were added, holes were drawn here, shelf holes. CabWriter assumed that if you're putting doors in there, you want shelf holes. Now you can disable that in the CabWriter settings dialog box, but the default setting is if you add doors, you probably want to add shelves. So it creates the shelf holes. And in order to protect this side from being redrawn without the shelf holes, CabWriter automatically protects, I'll show you that here. If I go to the extended entity info, it automatically protects that side. so that those holes can't be redrawn, well, so that the cabinet can't be redrawn and the holes eliminated. So I can fix this in a couple of ways. One is we can undo everything, move the cabinet, and then add the doors. Or let's do it a slightly different way. This is not the way I would propose you doing it. What I would propose you doing it is back things up, undo things to the point where the doors are not added, and then move the cabinet back and then add the doors. But I'm going to do this a slightly different way to show you that you can recover from things, holes being drilled and parts being protected. I'm going to select both of these parts. And I'm going to unprotect them. And now I'm going to redraw this cabinet. Redraw selected cabinet. And I'm going to use the internally stored DNA. Notice now that the sides are back. If I remove the doors, notice I don't have the holes. So what I have to do to get the doors with the holes, I will delete these doors. Now here's another little trick with CabWriter. I can choose any part of any subassembly, right click, go to CabWriter, select subassembly, doors. See all that? CabWriter, select subassembly, doors. I can unlock them and delete them. Now I can add them again. And this time it'll put the holes in. They'll be in the right place. Oh. And I want 2. I say OK. There we go. Now we got the doors. All right, now there's a fair amount of tedious work to do here. And it's all CabWriter, or I'm sorry, it's all SketchUp work. So I'm going to do some of it online and do a bunch of it offline because it's the kind of thing that you ought to be able to do without looking. You should know CabWriter. I'm sorry, you should know SketchUp well enough now to fix some things up here without looking. But notice what we did with CabWriter. We backed this cabinet up against this one. We're now sharing this, although we have a gap. So we need to fix that. And that's part of what we can do with just plain old SketchUp native tools. And the way I do that is I choose this part, unlock it, edit it, use the push-pull tool, and bring it over there. There we go. We got that part of it done. Now the other thing we want to do these panels are much too big. They need to have a half panel here. 2 half panels. The other thing I want to do is this piece here looks awful, especially once we put the crown molding on, looks awful thin. And so I want to do something with it. And what I've done, if you look at the original drawing, is I've decided to share that line in that line with this. So what I'm going to do there right now is I'm going to going to unlock this. Bring it down to this point. And I'm going to edit this. And I want to bring it up. Two and 27/30 seconds. So let me edit it. Use the push-pull tool. Bring that up to here, which is 2 and 27/30 seconds. I want to remember that. And the reason I want to remember that is because recall that I brought it down. It was the same as this here. I brought it down to here. That's 2 and 11/30 seconds. So that's the number I really want to remember, 2 and 11/30 seconds. Yeah, 2 and 11/30 seconds. Okay, so now I want to edit this panel. You can't see me select it because it's hidden by these, but it is selected. I'll say unlock it. Edit component, and in order to do this, oh, I guess I can use that. I'm going to bring the top edge of that panel down. I want to bring it down to just inside the dado, right there. And if you look in the VCB, you'll notice it's 2 and 27/30 seconds that I had to bring it down. That makes sense, actually. So I'll click there. I have that done. Now, what I want to do is find the middle of this cabinet from here to here. The easy way to do that is create a line from here to here. Select that line and divide it by 2. And then about in the middle, I'll find it. And what I'm going to do is copy this part here. So I'll use the copy tool. I'm going to pick it up by the middle of this edge here. And I'm going to hit the control key because this is a copy operation. And I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to find the middle of that line, which should be about right there. And I'm going to drop it. Now, I need to edit it, because if I were to look at the bottom of the piece that I copied here, you'll find that there's no dado. So I'm going to bring it out 20 inches along the red axis. A number I can remember, 20. I'm also going to explode it. Not edit it, but explode. Explode it. There we go. Remember that whenever you use the explode tool, SketchUp takes all of the primitives that were on layer 0 and places them on the layer that the component was on prior to you exploding it. So if I look over here, you'll see it's on the base end panels layer. I want it on layer 0. I got to return all the primitives to layer 0. Anytime you use the explode tool, you have to remember to do that. And now I'm going to go underneath, look at this underneath. And I'm going to add a couple lines from here to here, from here to there. And with the push-pull tool, I'm going to move those up. I believe I need to move them up 3/8 of an inch. And it's not wanting, there we go. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to make this a component. I don't care about the component name. Just make it a component. And now I'm going to use this tool, the rename component tool, to add it to this cabinet. But before I do that, I need to know what the prefix of this cabinet is. So I select this component, look down here, and notice it's C29L. I don't need the EP, just the C29L. Cabinet number and whether it's an upper or lower. All right, C29L. So now I can choose this tool and immediately type C29L in here. C and L have to be capitalized. I want this to be a mid-rail. And I want to choose this as a end panel. It's part of the end panel of this cabinet. Now notice that the definition name, the component name, is a combination of this, the selection here, and the description here. C29L EP mid-rail. That's what goes in here. The instance name here, since there's only going to be one end panel mid-rail here, I can call this mid-rail as well. And I'm going to protect it. And it tells me that there's no attributes assigned to it yet. So that's not a problem. We'll add those right now. And to see what attributes I should add, I'll look at this part right here and go to Extended Entity Info. And it's rough lumber maple. And it's going to be resized in thickness by a 32nd and resized in width by a 16th. So it's a 32nd and a 16th. Rough lumber, maple, resized in thickness by a 32nd, and resized in width by a 16th. And by the way, this is whatever your process is. These are defaults that are in CabWriter, but whatever your process is, they can be changed. All right, so now, there we go. We have all of that. Now, since I moved it out 20 inches, if I move it 20 inches back, I should be fine. So I'll just simply take this, move it along the red axis, 20 inches, and it's back where it belongs. Now what I have to do is create two panels, and hopefully they're going to be the same dimension. They're going to be, this one's going to be 37 and 37/64 plus 2 dado depths. Let's see what this one's going to be. (37 and 37/64 plus 2 dado depths. Now, what I'm going to do is select this one, bring it out 20 inches. And if I remembered the number correctly, I'll come down 37 and 37/64. And now I need 2 dado depths. One for the top, one for the bottom. So that's 2 times 3/8, which is 6/8 or 3/4. And that's what the height of that one has to be. Now, before I do anything, what I'm going to do is take my construction point tool right there, and I'm going to mark a point here. And now I'm going to edit this component. I'm going to bring the bottom edge up to this point, up to this line right there. And I'm going to copy it. I'm out of edit component mode now, so I can copy it and move one down. And I want my construction point. Where is my construction point? This might be it right here. I hope it is. Okay. So now I have 2 of them. Let's just look at what they say in the entity info. This is a base end panel. It says there's 2 of them in the bottle. And that's the right end panel. Well, that's true. They're both right end panels, but one's the upper right end panel and one's the lower right end panel. So I want to change the instance names only. I'll change that to upper right end panel. And I'll change this to lower right end panel. And now I can select them both and move them 20 inches back. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if I got them in the right place, and it appears I did not. So we'll do it the hard way. I'm going to take this point right there and move it to that point right there. And now I've got them in the right place. There we go. Both of them are in the right place. I'm not sure what happened there, but that's okay. Got them fixed. Now I'm going to go offline and do this. It's the same process as this, but the difference is going to be here. I'm going to put the mid rails in the same place, but the panels are going to be slightly different. That's because the doors aren't symmetrical. Notice that's wider than that. So my panels this time, I'm actually going to have, well, these two will be the same. And these two will be the same. But the tops and bottoms will be different. But other than that, it's the same process. So I'm going to go offline and do it, and I'll be right back. I'm back. And I've finished up putting the mid rail in each place. And what I did was I took this long panel and I edited it to make it an upper panel. I took this long panel and I edited it to make it a bottom panel. And you can see that if I look at if I select it and look at the entity info, this is called C29 D1 upper door panel, and it's the left upper door panel. Whereas this one is called C29L D1 lower door panel, and it's the right lower door panel. Now all I have to do is move this panel to the left and this panel to the right. And I'm going to show you an easy way to do that in SketchUp. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's really easy. If I select this panel, use the Move tool with the copy by hitting the Control key, I can find the middle of this. Actually, I don't even need to find the middle. I could just find the edge, and I can move it over to this edge on the red axis. I can do the same with this. Select it, use the Move Copy tool, pick this edge, move it along the red axis to this edge. There we go. No measuring or anything else. Now what I have to do is just fix up the instance names. So that's no longer the left upper door panel, it's the right upper door panel. And this one I move from here to here, so that's no longer the right lower door panel, that's the left lower door panel. And there you go. Everything is as it should be. And this video is now about 38 minutes long, something like that. So we're going to stop. We don't have a lot more to do. And so in the next video, we're going to finish up all of this fix-up stuff. And then we'll get on. I think what I want to do at that point is actually go through the toolbar with you and the menus, and make sure you know where all the tools are and where all the menus are. But until then, have a good day.